morning and welcome to our interview with Miss Connie Oglesbee. She is one of our 2023 honorees for the Civic Center's Black History Month celebration. Miss Connie Oglesbee has been an educator since 1974. She was the first African American female hired in the Thomaston-Upson School System in 1987. She began her career in the Florida Public School System in 1974. And in 1987, Miss Oglesbee was named as the assistant principal at Worthy Middle School, later at Upson High School. In 1995, she became the principal at Upson Alternative School until her retirement in 2009. Miss Oglesbee, welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. I also want to welcome Mr. Chris Fagan. He's here as our technical director and technical support for these podcasts. Chris has a podcast of his own called Talk Your Culture that airs on Mondays at 7 p.m. He's live on Facebook on Mondays at 7, but he also posts to Instagram and YouTube, so you can be sure to catch him in one of those places. All right, well, let's begin our interview. Miss Oglesbee, let's start by learning more about you personally. Tell us a little bit about who you are and who is Miss Oglesbee. I know I read in your interview that you were number 16 out of 18 children. That must have been a crazy home life.
Very. Yeah. Well, I was, like I said, I was born here in Upson County, and one of 18, the 16th child of 18 children, and last girl. And it just has been an honor to grow up in such a large family because we really knew what love was all about. You know, now it's, they don't even have dinner at the table or whatever, but all 12, I think I can remember all 12 of us, I can remember 12 of us being at home at the same time. And I was the only girl the last 10 years, the only girl at the house with the other 10 boys or however many boys it was. But it was an honor just to grow up in a family who had a lot of love for each other, and we still carry that love today. And but growing up in a family of 18 children is very interesting. I mean, when you talk about the only thing we had to go to the store for was flour. We grew everything else. We grew the potatoes, we grew the peanuts, we just had a big garden, and every November we would kill hogs and we would have our meats, and the only thing I remember going from Fowler Brothers store is picking up a 50-pound bag of flour that we had to drag down the road, to take home to Mom. But it was very. There were times that, even me had to sleep with the boys for 4 of the boys, 2 at the top. There was 3 at the top, and 2 of us at the bottom, because we only had like a 2-bedroom house.
Wow.
But it didn't bother us. It was just like we would go to work in the peach orchards, picking peaches 5 cents a bucket. And I was really blessed to go from 5 cents a bucket to $100,000 a year. And that was amazing to me because, and then we had to pick up pecans, crawl on the ground to pick up pecans. Whatever it took for us to make it as a family, we made it. Everything we made, we took it home to our parents. The money we made, we took it home to our parents. And we never tried to steal, never tried to hide it, we just knew we had to take it home to our parents, And that's what it was like growing up in a family of 18 children. It was really interesting, but yet at the same time, it was a lot of fun, so.
Yes. Oprah Winfrey once said that education is the key to unlocking the world. It's a passport to freedom. So what are some places that your education has unlocked for you?
Well, education unlocked the key to me being able to go to college. I remember saying to myself I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't know how I was going to do it with my mom having 18 kids, so I just started trying to figure out a way to go to college. So I found out about the Georgia State Teacher Scholarship. So I started working, trying to keep that B average. And I kept that B average and was able to go to Albany State College for 4 years, totally free.
Wow, congratulations.
So the kids have that same opportunity today, and so it's just up to them as to what they want to do.
That's right. How did you initially become interested in being an educator and becoming a teacher?
I remember saying in the 6th grade, I believe Miss Bentley, M.E. Bentley was one of my teachers, Reverend Martin was the principal. And I remember those teachers caring for those kids, caring for us. And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be able to just be able to be a teacher. I just started believing. I used to go out, we had tall grass, and I used to go out and braid this grass up in little braids, like 1, 2, 4, 5. And I would get behind that, in front of that grass, and I would say your ABCs. And I'd jump behind the grass and go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that letting me know I had to feel it, I had to touch it, I had to believe it in order to accomplish. And once I started doing that, I started believing I could be a teacher. I believe I could be a teacher too. So I'm just going to keep my grades up. I'm going to school. And that's what I did. I was able to go to school 4 years at no cost to me.
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations. So you mentioned Miss Bentley. She was one of our honorees last year. Is she, or is there someone else that you consider who was an impact on you that helped mold you into who you are today?
Edna Goodson, Adele. She was a typing teacher from Detroit, I believe. And I wanted to be just like her. I started thinking like her. She was like a big sister to me after school, because we lived in the country. And if I wanted to have some activities downtown, then she would let me stay at her house like a little sister. And I ended up becoming that typing teacher.
Really?
Yeah, I was a typing teacher, shorthand teacher, but I wanted to be just like her. And to this day, as a matter of fact, I just talked to her last week. To this day, we still keep in contact with each other.
Oh, that's exciting.
So my typing teacher was my biggest influence.
What brought you from being a typing teacher to being a principal?
That's interesting, because what happened was I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1977. No, 76. And couldn't find a job. There was no jobs available in typing, shorthand. So one day I was at church, and this principal, white principal of Highland High School, was at church, and he, after the service, I had said the prayer on program, and he said, young lady, that was a good prayer. I said, thank you. I says, I heard you're the principal of Highland High School. He said, yes, I am. I said, y'all don't like black folks around here or something? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I've been trying to find a job teaching typing, and I can't find a job. He says, these people die in those jobs. He says, that those jobs are not available. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? Because I worked as a clerk. I was married at the time. I worked as a clerk, making less than $400 with a college degree. It didn't matter. I was just putting some money into the pocket to help with the household. And at that point, he says, well, I don't have a typing position. He says, I have a program. I stopped him. I said, wait, a program? Does it pay teacher pay? He said, yep. Does it pay teacher salary? He said, yep. I said, I take it. To that moment, I didn't know what he was talking about. So he was talking about opening up the alternative school. And I was able. So what I did was I went through a divorce, and the hardest thing I've had to go through. And I woke up one day and I said, look, no man is going to take me down. You're going back to school. And that's when next day I enrolled in the University of New Mexico, and I got accepted there and received my master's in administration. So what encouraged me to do that was working with the alternative school. I was a director anyway. So I said, well, let me just get the degree behind me so that I can go. And once I got my degree, Mr. Banks, James C. Banks, called me out of nowhere and asked me would I come home to take his place. I said, what do you mean take your place? No, Mr. Banks, I can't come back to Thomaston. And I remember saying that to him. And then one of the assistant superintendents called and asked me would I come back. I said, wait a minute, let me just find out what's going on here. So I took a year's leave of absence, and at Albuquerque we'll give you a year leave of absence, and decided to come home. And so I wanted to be an administrator. To answer your question, I wanted to be an administrator because I felt like it would give me more opportunity to work with the children, better opportunity to working with the children. So.
Well, I certainly know you've made an impact on at least one student. He's already mentioned it. So.
Yeah.
A lot of us actually. It was just personal for me because I've always had capabilities and abilities, but I just didn't have the type of home front that pushes that out of me. You know what I'm saying? And Miss Oglesbee saw that potential in me. And I don't know if she just liked me, but this just was a job
Liked all
she
you
was
guys.
doing. I really couldn't figure that out at the time. I wasn't old enough. I just thought she was personally picking on me. But it didn't take me until my next grade till I realized what she had done. And she had basically prepared me to mentally get ready for high school. Because high school was a large task to take on. I mean, you're almost like on your own. You don't have a teacher hovering over you all the time, so if you fail, you just fail.
That's right. That's where we lose most of our kids.
Yep.
Yep.
I read in your biography that you were one of the girls' basketball coaches. So how do you feel about being involved with sports? How do you think that affects you as a person? And also, how do you think it has an effect on your players being involved in sports?
But that girl's basketball coach it was like, I'm going to be very honest with you. I really didn't like basketball.
Really?
I really didn't like coaching, but it was a way of getting extra finance. But I enjoyed working with them because it gave me an opportunity to travel with them, to kind of try to keep them in order because there was some tough days there. Those girls, Stackhouse and all of them, those are some of my girls. And but it was I only coached 1 year because I didn't like the idea of taking up all my vacation time. You know, because Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Remember the Christmas? You played basketball, right? The Christmas tournaments and. We're sitting up there, I don't know whether Chris was on that bus or not. We were coming from Gray, Georgia. We broke down somewhere out there in the middle of nowhere at 2 o'clock in the morning and don't get home till 6 o'clock. And at that point, I said, no more basketball for me. So I went to the superintendent, Mr. Bates, I believe, and I told him, I said, I need the money, but Doc, I can't do this. And he agreed to put me on a 12-month contract to keep me from losing my finance. So I only coached for 1 year. But the girls were great. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't my thing. Because I had gotten to a point where if I win, I win. If I don't, what the heck? And I knew that was not fair to the girls.
Right.
So that's why I decided to come out. Yeah.
I imagine you learned a lot about the girls being... not just as an instructor, but having a different avenue to learn from them.
You learn a lot
As
from
a
them.
coach, you almost become kids' parents.
Right. That's all they have sometimes, Because a lot of times kids just want you to listen to them. Like if the kids got in trouble in class, they would come down cursing and carrying on and trying to go home. That's what it was. And I would tell them, go out there and sit down. I ain't got time for all that. Go sit down. So I'd come by and I'll ask them, I said, look, you ready to talk? No. Excuse me, I'll be back in a minute. And so I would come back later and they would say, you ready to talk to me? Yeah, ma'am. I said, okay, go into my office, let's talk. But I never would talk with those kids angry.
Yes.
When they were angry, it's best to just shut your mouth, When they calm down, then you're able. And the first thing I would ask was, "What happened?" Most of the time, that's all kids want to do is tell their side of the story.
Right.
Because somebody's always saying, "No, there was no. Shut up, shut up, shut up. No, that wasn't right." No, let them say what they have to say, and then Then you kind of summarize. Okay, so you're upset because so and so. Okay. All right. Now, what do we need to do about this? Okay, what do you suggest we do about this? So you just turn it around so they look like they're in control, but of course you're always in control.
Absolutely.
So it's just, that's what I liked about just working with the youth, period.
Yeah. What would you say that you're most passionate about when it comes to making a positive impact on your community?
I'm passionate about children. God, our children don't even have a chance to live anymore. You know, we got so many kids being killed, so many children killing children. So my passion is trying to find a way to help them survive because they need somebody to say it's going to be all right. Even though they might get it at home, sometimes they don't get it at home. But you got to. My passionate thing is just children and working with parents. Parents don't even know what to do now.
Yes.
You know, so that was my main goal of coming back to Thomaston. I left Thomaston in 2004, and I was in Florida for 2 years. Just got back from Leesburg, Florida, on September the 2nd. But I woke up one morning and I just wanted to come back home, and because I promised Mr. Banks that I would be here to help these children. I got to thinking, I'm not in Thomaston, so if I was going to work with the youth, I said, well, why would I work with the youth anywhere else? I think I want to go back and work with my youth in my own community. So that's what I decided to come back September the 2nd. And so trying to set up programs for these children, working with parents. I've been working with the Thomaston Coalition. I've gone to a couple of the city council meetings, and that's what it's all about. That's my passion, is just trying to help someone like Chris. You know, the child might not have anybody at home. Fathers' figures are not present that much anymore. Parents are single parent homes, working 3 or 4 jobs with 3 or 4 kids. So I want to be, I guess, more of a liaison to the school, where if you can't make it, I mean, it's hard for parents to get off work, especially meals and stuff like that.
Right.
Because they can lose a job just like that.
Yes.
So if you give me permission to talk to that teacher, then I want to be able to go over and be your spokesman to that teacher to find out what's going on, then I'll get it back to you. But that's what I'm hoping to do.
Okay.
Is work with
All
our
right.
youth.
You know, something you said just a second ago was you wanted to bring it back home, and that's a common thread with everybody that I interviewed last year and even the ones that I've started with this year. Everybody has said that they're most passionate when they can bring what they've learned and what they're
Back into the community.
bring it back to the community where they were born and where they grew up.
Yeah, can you imagine, Chris, some of your classmates who made it successful, like Stackhouse, doctorate degree, and Cheney, doctorate degree. Can you imagine if all those children would come back and run this community?
Yeah.
What it would be like? That would be awesome.
I try to tell the young
Yeah, it'd
kids
be
that all
awesome.
the time that you guys are the future. So if a group of adults is coming down on you, we're not trying to make you have the worst life in the world. We're trying to shape you for you to take care of your future. Because once we get too old, ain't nothing we can do.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? But go ahead and go to the upper room. At that point in time, it'll be in y'all hand. So I know that's what I do to my children. I know I can't affect all children, other than the ones that come in the barbershop with their conversations and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I try to, shower information down on them. But really, I just try to teach them to make sound decisions. instead of irrational decisions, because that's what we. And she said something that just stuck out, and I mean, it's bigger than it seemed as she was saying it. She said children don't get a chance to live anymore, and that's true. And it's not just only from killings, like they don't live because they're holding their phone.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. Like, they're
At
not
the dinner
living
table,
at all.
everywhere.
So they don't get a chance to live anymore.
No family time. No. I mean, think about it. How many families actually sit down for dinner now? Or breakfast?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know any. And see, that was a time growing up in that family of 18 children. That was something. My dad was a preacher, of course. And that was something that they encouraged. We had to sit at that table. We had to say a Bible verse. We had to, before we touched that food. But there's no family unity as far as that is concerned. Like I said, the phones are killing our children. Not just our children. You'll see parents sitting at the table with their phone while they're eating.
Yeah.
You know, instead of conversation, how was your day? How was your day today, Chris? You know, okay. You know, just a conversation, but everybody is, I don't know what it's the world, but everybody's just in and out, in and out. Got to have that phone. Got to be on Facebook. Got to be on TikTok. Got to be pumping. Just you know, the children are cursing on Facebook. They thinking it's cute. You know, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
but that's what it's all about. Chris is trying to help you guys stay on track. But I hear you are a father now.
Yeah.
Right? Of two. So now you are seeing what we was trying to tell you all the time. That it's all about staying focused, setting goals, and determine what you want to do in life. Because those children are watching every move you make.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't.
That's kind of like how I got into doing podcasting. I was trying to figure out a way, how can I reach more people? Because I can only
Especially young
reach
people.
the certain amount of people that's in my chair or that's waiting. You know, and that's a very small conversation. So I was trying to figure out, how can I make these conversations broader and reach more people? And I knew that people was in love with their phone. So I said,
Yeah,
that's how
that
I'm
makes
going to reach
sense.
them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get in their phone.
That's right.
Yeah.
And these interviews for Black History Month are huge.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is the type of content that I've been looking for.
Right.
That I need, because I've been trying to get these messages out there. We talk about this stuff in the barbershop all day, but it's the only place it stays. Right? So
Yeah.
since people are always on social media, I figured I'd create a podcast, and that's how I reach them.
Okay.
That share button's easy to tap too.
Yeah.
Share it with other people.
Yeah, it's but like I said, I think you guys are doing a great thing here.
Thank you.
Because like I said, when you know, what I hope somebody get from this is the fact that if I can do it, coming from a family of 6 to 18 children, then you definitely can do it, because you got every opportunity in the world. We didn't have, Chris, we didn't have running water. We had outside toilets. I mean, I can remember us having double seat toilets. You know, I don't know why they had double seat toilets, because I wasn't going in there with nobody. But we had running water. We had wells. We had candles. We didn't have lights. You know, and for me to be 70 years old, had lived to see 70 years, that's a blessing to me. To be able to see someone like Chris and those kids I work with, to be able to be good parents, and their children are coming out of college. Every time I hear one of my students' children coming out of college, is Lord, thank you. That's all I could say. Lord, thank you, because that's what I wanted to do, is just hold them up so they can get on their feet.
Right.
And that's what you have to do, is hold these children up. They don't mean any harm. They really don't. Even the troubled children. I was a little concerned. I was kind of skeptical of saying this, but I was a little concerned when they informed me that I was counseling kids too much. But that was one of the reasons I retired, by the way. Because it started to bother me that if you send a child from the regular school setting because they weren't doing what they're supposed to do, alternative to me means do something different
Right.
than send them home. So if they come out there using profanity or whatever, I wouldn't send them home. I just wait till everybody leave and let them do the work after everybody else leave. And they stopped that process. They stopped doing that because they knew I didn't care nothing about them. There's somebody hurt them, and I didn't do nothing. So but we'll go with that. But anyway, it's all about holding them up until they're able to hold themselves up, because that's what it's all about. And I had in my life, everybody held us up. All you had to do was just mention mom. Don't have to mention dad, just mom. Let a teacher mention mom, then you do. I mean, now it's a joke, but don't.
There's a lot of parents
Yeah.
go to the school blaming the school.
Yes.
I see it too much.
I do too.
There's a lot of parents talking about,
Nobody talking
tired
about
of them calling me, why don't they do something about it? They don't understand that you're the one that's supposed to be doing something about it.
it. Got to start
I
at
tell my
home.
children that all the time.
Got to start at
You're
home.
not just representing you at school. You're a representation of me.
And
However you're conducting yourself in school is how they're gonna view me as your parent.
that's right.
So
Yeah, so it's major impact. Parents don't realize they've got to. It's got to be a change somewhere, though. I don't know where, and I think that's why I came back, because I'm just not satisfied with. I was just thinking about just the murders here in Thomaston this year. Was it this year? How many murders they had in here? Like
I'm not sure.
it's too many to keep
Too
up
many.
count
Yeah,
at this point.
and it's sad, that it has gotten to that point. But it's gonna get worse if parents don't tighten up a little bit. And they can't wait till they turn 13.
Right.
They got to start down here. When you think it's cute when he's cursing, then put it on Facebook laughing. Next thing you know, he's ready to kill parents. Parents killing children, but that's all a sign of time. The Bible even speaks of that. That the parents will be against the children against parents, and that's what's going on now today. That's really bad.
It is. Out of all of your achievements over the years, what would you say would be your most memorable?
I guess becoming a principal is my most memorable one, because I was being a principal. I was able to do more for our children. Like at the alternative school, we didn't really have a lot of teachers. I've taught math myself, I think, several years, and but just being able to, my greatest accomplishment is just being able to continue to work with these children, because they're so troubled. Mental illness is real, and with our parents and our still children, and that's what we got to work on, that mental illness, not having a father in their life. Hey, you'd be surprised how many kids are angry because they don't have the father in their life. You ain't got no daddy, and all this stuff, and this bullying, and this, it's just so much happening now. When you hear of all the killings over here, 10 people shot over here, another 12 kids shot over here, and it's like, what is going on here? Am I really ready to come out of retirement for this? But I still feel like my work is not done. Not here in Thomaston. I don't know where God is leading me, but He's leading me to a point where I guess it's time to work with that generation of children, their children. I don't know, but I just know that I still got a little bit left, and I want to give it to Thomaston-Upson County.
Well, we will be honored to have you here. What are some challenges that you faced over the years that affected your outlook?
My biggest challenge was going through a divorce in 1979. And I really almost lost it. I mean, it was like I got married. I graduated in 1974 from Albany State, graduated that morning, got married that evening.
Oh, wow.
So I received 2 degrees, my BS and my MRS, on the same day. And my biggest challenge was overcoming that divorce, because it was taking me down. It was I would find myself in the mornings, eyes all swollen, crying all night, wondering what am I going to do, what am I going to do, and putting ice on my eyes just to try to go to work. And I looked in that mirror one day and I says, no, no man is going to take you down. You hear me? I'm fussing at myself. No man is going to take you down. And next thing I knew, I said, that's when I decided to apply for the University of New Mexico. And my grade my grade scores were really low. I had real bad grade scores, but it didn't stop me. They let me go to the University of New Mexico I didn't have to take the Miller of Knowledge and nothing. My grades in high school was so high and grades in college was so high. So my master's, they just let me go on a probation. And I kept a B+ average, 3.8 average. And then when I got back to Thomaston in 90, I went to Troy State University. And same thing. Scores too low, but didn't stop me. They let me go on probation. And I ended up with a 3.8 average there. So that's how I made it. But then I remember the greatest struggle was trying to working at Thomaston Mills. I worked there one summer, and I kept praying, Lord, please. It was called the spinning machine, where you had to keep the thread up, all the 40 bobbins, And every time I walked down, Lord, please let me get my education. Lord, please, I can't do this, Lord, please let me get my education. And I prayed and I prayed. I prayed my way out of there. And but that, to me, that was the greatest challenge I had to go through, was the divorce, getting back on track with that. And then once I got enrolled in the University of New Mexico, I looked in that mirror the next morning. I said, your loss. God don't make no junk.
That's right.
So, and I went on with my life at that point. Never looked back.
Wow. Do you have any goals yet to be accomplished? I know you sort of alluded to that a little bit, that you feel like you are not finished yet. Do you have any specific goals that you would want to share with us today?
My biggest goal is to continue working with Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park has always been a kind of a pet peeve for me. Trying to work with the parents, working with the coalition. I think they just gave them that gym back. So working with them, trying to organize an after-school tutoring program for our children. And in order to do that, I wanted to be able to write some grants. There's some grants out there. But I want to be able to use my former students, like Chris and Stackhouse, all these doctorate degrees, let them do the writing of the grants. And just let me control the program. And I told them I will oversee the program. I've already talked with them that I will oversee the after-school program at no cost to them. And so I'm working with, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. But I'm in the process of working with them, trying to organize that. And I've talked with Pastor Mo and let him know I was interested in working with the Steve and Margie's Foundation, where he is working with kids from 13 to 18, I believe. 13 to 18.
I think so.
I want, and I think Mr. Harvard said something like, if we need to have access to his buildings, please feel free, because they're only out there for one summer or something a year. And so my vision is organizing a camp just like his, but deal with K through 12-year-olds.
Oh, okay. So around 5th or 6th grade, yeah.
If you don't reach those kids in that stage, it's almost impossible to reach them at this stage. I mean, it's not impossible.
Right.
But it's harder to reach them.
It is much harder.
Chris will tell you, like he was saying earlier, by the 9th grade, ain't no such thing as being pushed on. If you didn't pass that, that's where we lost most of our kids, was that 9th grade year, because they were goofing off and their classmates are moving on. They're still back in the 9th grade and their classmates in the 10th grade. So they just quit, So we got to reach those kids before they turned 13. Think about it. 6th grader took a gun to school. shot a teacher. What, a couple months ago, a month ago? So that's my ultimate goal, is to get in with Mr. Harvey and work with, and I've already talked with Pastor Moore about this, I just got to get my information in, and help them with that program. I mean, at no cost to them. But however, if they got a job, I'll take it. But seriously, just to work with our youth is my main goal to coming back to Thomaston. It's just, and I don't know, right now I'm dealing with some health issues that I'm trying to get straightened out. I've got to do cataract surgery and all this stuff. But once all this is taken care of, then I'm praying every day that God, if you have something you want me to do, show me. I know you brought me back here for a purpose. So I don't know what that purpose is, but you know. And so that's my prayer every day, just continue to guide me into where you want me to be. Because this is a journey. I mean, it's a tough journey. It's good to hear Chris' kids are doing well, but what about those other kids who are not doing well? What about those other parents who don't even have control over their children? They want control, but they work 3 and 4 jobs. They can't go run and take care of this and run and take care of that because they don't trying to figure out how to pay rent. So that's my main goal, is to come back, and whatever time I have left, is to be able to work with these children and their children's children, so they can become successful too. Because we have a good community.
We do.
We have a good community, and I don't want to see these kids coming to destroy it by just shooting up Lincoln Park, shooting up downtown, shooting up. We got to. I don't know what the answers are. I know that we just got to pray. We got to keep the faith. We got to let our children know we all been through something, but we still got a chance to get through it. We all gonna go through some trials, but the trials make us stronger. But the main thing is keeping God first, and in all of our ways acknowledge Him, and He will continue to direct your path. I know that for a fact. Because going through, like I said, that divorce almost took me down. The doctor couldn't understand why my blood pressure was so high. So he looked at me one day and he said, "We can't find nothing wrong with you." He said, "Are you going through some personal changes?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm just going through a divorce." He said, "Well, I tell you what, you can let that divorce kill you, or you can let it move on. You can move on." He said, "Because that's the only thing wrong with you." So that's when I decided, no, I'm not going to let no divorce kill me, because it's his loss.
That's right.
But that's just having an impact on the younger generation. And like Chris, it was nice to hear him say that I made an impact in his life. And believe it or not, a lot of kids have told me that, and I really appreciate that, Yeah, I appreciate that, because I was at Ingles one summer, and this girl drove the car, stopped right behind me, and I'm going, "Miss Oglesbee, that you?" I said, "Yeah." "I hadn't seen you since high school." "Miss Oglesbee, I want you to know my children are who they are today because of you."
Oh,
She said, and one of them just came out of college. She said, "Miss Oglesbee, you just don't know how," and I don't know her name. She said, "You don't even know how much of an impact you made in my life." And to me, that's what it's all about, because we don't know what today is going to bring. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But no matter what it brings, no matter how long I got to live here, it's good to know that I made an impact in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And it's good to give me my flowers while I'm living.
that's right.
Because the biggest thing, folks will run to all these funerals and, "Miss Oglesbee with this," but I can't hear it. Tell me now. And I really believe that I've got the oldest ones I've dealt with in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they keep in touch with me all the time. They're 52, 53 years old. Yeah, so they are.
So now they're at the age that they really realize the impact that you made.
They got grandchildren and everything else, and really realize the impact that, and it wasn't about bragging about what I did. It was more kids knew they could count on me.
That's right.
You know, they knew they could talk to me. They knew that no matter what the problem was, I was going to listen to them, whether I was going to do anything about it or not.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, if you and Chris had a problem, then I'm going to put you two right there, and then you're going to tell Chris what's bothering you. I'm just going to sit here and listen. Well, don't tell me, tell Chris. All right, Chris, what you think? Well, how you going to respond to that? Well, I don't like so-and-so, so-and-so. All right. Okay, now that let me make sure I understand this. You are upset because so-and-so, so-and-so. Then you are upset because of so-and-so, so-and-so. Okay. What y'all think we need to do about it? Come on, give us some suggestions. That's how you dealt with situation.
Yeah.
You know, I never really, when they saw me screaming, they knew to go sit down then because they knew that I was upset. But normally I would just sit there and try to be, and I would see parents drop their children off. But my window was here, and you could tell they were angry because they pull up before the kids get out of the car. You know, almost hitting them.
Yeah.
Right? And then they reach over and close the door after they get out. And I would see that kid come in that door. I'll stop him right there. Hey, go in and get you one of the oranges. I'll be in there in a few minutes. Just to calm him back down. Because if I let that kid go in that classroom, somebody's going to get cursed out.
Yeah.
So you had to be observant. You had to, I tried to understand the children point of view, as well as the adult point of view. I had one parent who was calling me all kind of MFs, and
Oh, goodness.
I hung up. I immediately called the superintendent, Dr. Hemley at the time. I said, look, this parent just cursed me out. Y'all don't pay me enough for that. So she probably going to be up there in a few minutes. And so at that point, she came for a meeting the next day. And I was sitting there. So she came in, she was huffing and puffing. I'm sitting there listening. Because you got to let them get their point of view out.
Right.
You can forget it, let them get it out. And so I said, okay. At that point, I asked them, I said, okay, we understand. But the whole point here is, what can we do as a team? Do you have any suggestion that I could use to help your child? Because all I want to do is see them succeed. So I had her eating out of my hand at that point. So it's how you deal with parents. I don't have any kids. I have 18 children. I don't have any kids. I had 2 miscarriages. So I figured that wasn't a part of my life. That wasn't a part of my journey, because I had over 50,000 other children that I could send home. I didn't have to wait for it. But it's just been a great journey. And like I was telling you earlier, Donald, that this is the first time that I've ever been honored in this community. I'm going to be honest with you. And to know at 70 years old, to know that I made a difference in you guys' life, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to know that.
Well, we're going to start closing up the interview now, and I wanted to ask you, like I've asked everyone else, do you have a word, a quote, something you would like to speak to the youth in our community that they can carry with them?
Yes. First of all, obey your parents. Respect your parents. Respect your teachers. Because those are the ones that's going to help you make it to your finish line. Set yourself some goals. Once you set those goals, then start coming up with a plan of action. Small-term goal, what I want to do right now. What I want to do in the long term. What I want at the finish line, where I want to go. And I tell those kids, especially seniors who are messing up, I don't like that teacher. Well, okay, let's go back to kindergarten. You like that teacher? Yeah, ma'am. What about 6th grade? Did you have teachers you didn't like? Yeah, ma'am. So you trying to tell me all those years you didn't like a teacher, now you get to the finish line and you're going to let one teacher stop you from graduating? Oh, man, that's messed up. So I was trying to get them to see that you're in this educational tunnel, and you enter that tunnel, it's darkness. From kindergarten, it's darkness. Then you get to your 9th grade year, you see something down there. It look like something. What's that light down there? It look like something. So you start keeping going toward that light, and you find that light getting brighter and brighter. And then you keep traveling through this tunnel, and you get to your senior year and step out. Wow, nothing but opportunities waiting on you. So I would just say to the younger generation and parents, in all thy ways, Proverbs 3, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. But most of all, keep the faith. There are going to be some times at a crossroad where you don't know which way to go. You just got to keep the faith, because you got to remember, we all have gone through something. But if I stop here, if I get to a point where I don't know which way to go, but my goal's still on that side of the fence, I got to figure out, how do I get over this fence? Do I need to go under it? Do I need to go through it? But somehow you got to get over it, because if not, you're going to stay right where you are. So my advice to you mainly is to keep the faith, because there are going to be some hard times out there. But when you go through something, it's going to make you stronger when you get on the other side.
Absolutely.
So that's my advice to them.
That is a good piece of advice. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and we look forward to you being here for our celebration on February 26th.
Okay.
Right.
We have one guest, right? You said we can invite one guest?
Yes, you can have one guest. Okay. Yes, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Enjoy it, Chris.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. I hope.